How's it going, everybody? It's the Joe Little Fox Show. I want to talk about anime, video games, cartoons, and today I'm here to talk about some Sonic and, of course, DC Universe. So, as you all know, there is a DC Comics and Sonic Universe crossover and stuff, and right now, currently, they're on issue 3. I know I'm a little bit late on my review and stuff because I just got the issue a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to talk about it. So, we're going to talk about it. I'll share with you some of my thoughts and stuff because I feel like it's worth kind of putting out there, stuff that I've noticed that I don't think a lot of people pointed out and all that. And just, it's a really cool comic and stuff. I'm like, because I grew up with, of course, both DC and Sonic. And again, never in a million years would I imagine, like, oh, these two properties will actually officially cross over. I'm not talking like no fan project, nothing. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to just recap basically issue 2 and 3 and then I'll tell you like my highlights and what I got out of that. So let's get right into it. Alright, so issue number 2. So Sonic's friends and the Justice League team up in pairs to stop Darkseid and his henchmen from conquering the universe with the Chaos Emeralds. But as things get grim, the Justice League sends Sonic's friends to their world as a last resort. And just to put this out there before I forget, but this is also written by Ian Flynn and also drawn by Adam Bryce Thomas and stuff. Which this is really looking really good and stuff. The coloring is done by Matt Herms. The letters is done by Becca Carey. The covers are done by Pablo, or at least this cover that I have is done by Pablo M. Kohler. And then the variant cover is done by Ethan Young. The editor is Michael McKeister, whatever. And then the group editor is Katie Kubert. Alright, so anyways, basically it opens up with Sonic and Flash meeting up with Darkseid, where he's stealing one of the Chaos Emeralds and stuff. And basically they try to jump him, but then that doesn't work because, Darkseid's not only fast, but he is just as strong as Superman, so that's a problem. So anyways, Darkseid fires his Omega Beams at both Sonic and Flash. And this also kind of proves that Sonic can also pretty much outrun Darkseid's Omega Beams. So his unavoidable Omega Beams, which is a pretty big speed feat that a lot of people like to use. And be like, well, Flash avoided. Well, yeah, Sonic can do it too now. And then also later, Sonic and Flash are having a whole conversation talking about well, I'm as fast as a picosecond and stuff. And Sonic's like, oh, wow, your speed can be measured, implying that he can move faster than even that. So yeah, and the fact that, they're both competing against each other and stuff proves that, yeah, Sonic's just that fast. So just wanted to throw that out there. Just putting that out there. But anyways, so definitely, pretty much, like everybody's in Paris, like I said earlier. A lot of villains do make some appearances or some cameos, if you will. They're not there for that long inside the comic, but of course there's some characters like Steppenwolf, who's fighting both Batman and Shadow. And Shadow Molly whooped the hell out of Steppenwolf. In case you don't know who Steppenwolf is, he is Darkseid's uncle and stuff. He's a god from Apocalypse. He was also the main villain of the Justice League and all that from the DCEU. So that's who Steppenwolf is. So yeah, Shadow, like he beat the crap out of him. Then there's Mantis and stuff. He's also gets a little bit of a cameo where he's fighting both Green Lantern and Silver. And then Lashina, she's fighting both Wonder Woman and Amy Rose, and then Calabac, Darkseid's son, is fighting both Superman and Knuckles again. So pretty much those are the villains that appear, and then also Desaad as well, who is Darkseid's advisor and stuff like that. And then Mr. Terrific towards the end, he actually makes a little bit of a cameo, and yeah, and Vector also has a little bit of a cameo too, as Amy's talking to him while Wonder Woman is on like communicator with the rest of the other Justice League members. Dr. Eggman is also helping out the Justice League and Sonic and his friends as well, because he doesn't like Darkseid and stuff, because Darkseid's kind of like intruding on his world and stuff too, and trying to conquer it. And Eggman's like, nah, man, that's my deal. So yeah, he kind of helps him out for a little bit. So he isn't really that important to the story except for like the final part, and that's just about it. Now we enter issue number 3. After the alleged destruction of their world, Sonic and Co. stand in for Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, and Cyborg on their world. Each hero encounters certain villains using the Chaos Emeralds to kind of enhance their powers. So basically you have villains and stuff, and also a bit more heroes appearing in this story, where you have Lex Luthor, Reverse Flash, Gorilla Grodd, Sinestro, and the Joker. They all appear as like villains, antagonists in this story and stuff. And as far as the heroes go, you have Mr. Terrific, Beast Boy, Supergirl, Hawkgirl, Killua, Chip, Tomo Ray. They all appear as heroes, and of course you have Beast Boy here, who's turning as Knuckles, which is actually a bit of a callback to the Archie comics, because in the Archie comics, Knuckles actually once had a form called Chaos Knuckles, where he can turn green. So it's a little bit, if you caught that, yeah, it's a little bit of a reference to that, where Sonic is like, oh, now we know what you look like in green, and then Knuckles is like, keep it up, and I'm gonna introduce you to the Phantom Zone projector, basically. And then also Lois Lane had appeared in here as well, trying to cover for Clark Kent and advising Knuckles. So yeah, and then the Lanterns like Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, and then unfortunately some other Lanterns like Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, and JoJo Mulligan. They all get referenced and stuff as well in here. And then there's Brother Blood. He's also kind of mentioned in the Teen Titans as well, where we didn't really get to see Tails in his day in the life as Cyborg teaming up with the Titans and stuff. That would have been interesting though. But if we had a few more pages, we could have gotten something where like Tails is like, you know, along with the Titans and stuff, taking on Brother Blood, who's more of a personal enemy to Cyborg, as you know. But yeah. So yeah, again, it's a pretty good read and stuff. Like I said, it's pretty much like, you know, Sonic and his friends and how they pretty much handled themselves inside the DC universe and stuff. Pretty much. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. So we get this shot where Silver is like fighting Sinestro and stuff along with the Green Lantern Corps, and Sinestro is using the yellow Chaos Emerald to enhance his energy constructs and all that, and his his little yellow lantern battery and all that stuff. And then together, like, you know, Silver, Calabac, Chip, and Tomo Ray, I don't know how to pronounce that name. You know, the bird alien guy. The four of them work together and take out Sinestro, which was pretty cool. Then we cut to like in Washington D.C., which I kind of would have preferred. As you know, I've kind of reading Wonder Woman and stuff lately. I kind of would have preferred to kind of go with Gateway City over Washington D.C. because that's more of Wonder Woman's place or whatever, like her own actual city. But it is what it is, and she's fighting and basically Amy's teaming up with Hawkgirl and Supergirl to take on Gorilla Grodd and stuff. They probably could have used an actual like Wonder Woman villain, because, you know, Gorilla Grodd is a Flash villain, but it's whatever. They could have used like Cheetah, Silver Swan, Ares or something, and they could have probably substituted like they could have substituted Hawkgirl and Supergirl for like Wonder Girl, Cassie Sandsmark, and Donna Troy. But I mean, it is what it is. But again, Amy takes out Gorilla Grodd and stuff, and they take his little mind control helmet, which is being enhanced by the red Chaos Emerald and all that stuff. So yeah. And then later on we cut to Metropolis, where Knuckles is kind of just chilling around and stuff, you know, just patrolling. He has a little bit of just a conversation with Lex Luthor, nothing too dynamic or anything. And Lex tried to do this like funny thing where he thinks Knuckles is like part Kryptonian or something, like Krypto the Super Dog, or, you know, or Superman himself or whatever. So he pulls out a little green Chaos Emerald to try and use it on Knuckles. And Knuckles is like, wait, did you just try to poison me thinking this is kryptonite or something? Or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, almost got tricked or whatever. It's a whole thing. So Knuckles is making comparisons to like Lex Luthor and Dr. Eggman and all that stuff. What else? I actually like this one part where Knuckles like flies in on Lex Luthor's like building and stuff, and he's climbing down. Kind of reminds me of like in the games and stuff, like, because you know how like Knuckles glides, and then once he like gets to like a like to an edge or something like that, he can like climb up or climb down and stuff. It just reminded me of that game mechanic and stuff. I thought that was kind of a little bit funny, just imagining the sound effects to that. But anyways, so after Knuckles takes the Chaos Emerald and ends up bullying Lex Luthor and stuff, he kind of just goes on his merry way. And it's actually funny too, now that I think about it, because I'm thinking about Knuckles and his Superman outfit and stuff, and I'm just like, you know, it's ironic because Knuckles and Superman actually, not only do they have a lot in common, but they also have they at one point had the same voice actor. They were both voiced by Travis Willingham. Now, in case you don't know, Travis Willingham was the guy that voiced Knuckles throughout the Boom era. I think he started voicing Knuckles probably back in like, I could be tripping, but it was definitely in the 2010s era. But it was like, what was it? Sonic Free Riders. I think he started voicing Knuckles, and then Sonic Generations. Yeah, all the way up until like Sonic Forces. I think that was like the last time he might have voiced Knuckles and stuff. But anyways, yeah, and then Travis Willingham. I think he only voiced Superman like one time. In the Super Sons movie, it was that movie with John Kent, Superman's son, and Damian Wayne, Batman's son, teaming up and all that. So I'm kind of imagining Knuckles' voice and all that stuff, and it's ironic because they share the same voice actor as Superman.
Watch the suit, boys!
Thanks for helping out, Batman.
Hey, I also was part of this.
Hey guys, need a hand?
With what? Parking?
Huh?
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to be there for your award. Bruce Wayne's award. I got tied up.
Me too. Kids weren't invited.
So, saw you put a big hole in the theater?
I'll get it repaired.
I already did that. Also, I put your boat back in the water.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
No, you should really try not to make such a mess while you're fighting crime. I can see you smirking in there. X-ray vision.
Aren't there people somewhere else that need your help right now?
Yeah, actually there are. I should go. See you guys.
Bye, Superman. He's so nice.
Yeah, he's great.
You were kind of rude.
I was doing a systems check. I'll see you at the Batcave.
So that's kind of like a little bit of just something I just noticed. But yeah. And then of course we cut to like Gotham City where where Shadow is taking on the Joker, standing in for Batman and all that stuff. Shadow pretty much didn't even waste any words talking to the Joker or whatever. He just straight up, like, Joker's pretty much the one trying to make conversation and stuff, trying to tear up Gotham, wreak all types of havoc and stuff. You know how I really felt about the Joker. I don't mind the Joker. The Joker's a cool villain and stuff, and of course, when you think of like Batman's arch nemesis or his villains and stuff, Joker's like obviously the first one, but I probably would have preferred them to kind of use a different type of villain, but it is what it is. But the Joker's alright, And by different, I mean like you could have gone with Bane, Ra's al Ghul or something, but yeah. But yeah, Joker's kind of like a standard Batman villain, so yeah. So anyways, and Shadow also, I almost said Batman again. Shadow also got his own little miniature Batmobile that he's driving. That kind of reminds me of like one of those little cars that he has from like some of the Sonic Racing games and stuff, like Team Sonic Racing or something, or etc. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, and then he takes a Chaos Emerald that Joker had on him and stuff that he didn't know what power that it held. And then we cut to Central City. So I guess this kind of confirms that this is probably Barry Allen's Flash that's actually in this crossover, not Wally West, like I thought before. But anyways, because this takes place in Central City, and in case you don't know, Keystone City is the city that Wally West is really from, but Central City is the city that Barry Allen and stuff mostly guards, and Sonic's taking on Professor Zoom, taking on Reverse Flash. Or actually, yeah, that is Professor Zoom because, yeah, Professor Zoom is another name for Reverse Flash. But anyways, he's taking on, yeah, Zoom is a completely different character. That's Hunter Zolomon. That's Wally West's like Reverse Flash. But anyways, I would have probably really preferred that too than just Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne. But it is what it is. But anyways, Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash, he's got the blue Chaos Emerald and stuff, and he's fighting Sonic and everything, and they're going at it and everything. Reverse Flash is kind of boasting, acting like he's the fastest man alive. He's like, you're no Flash and stuff. You're not good enough to be his fake, blah, blah, blah. He's a complete psycho fanboy, all that stuff. And then Sonic ends up blitzing Reverse Flash and steals the Chaos Emerald and ended up like embarrassing him with Chaos Control, which, funny enough, this kind of reminds me of like that Mega Man crossover that Sonic had where Sonic embarrassed the hell out of Quick Man, if you remember. Like, so basically, like, back in, like, that Sonic Mega Man crossover, Sonic had a fight with Quick Man. Like, he was, like, everybody was fighting their robot masters, like, fighting a bunch of robot masters and stuff towards, like, the final act of the first crossover, Worlds Collide. And I remember there was this funny scene where Quickman thought he can take on Sonic and stuff. And you know, Quickman, he's just as fast as lightning. So you see their after images and all that stuff, like, and all that, and basically you see that obviously Sonic is like making fun of or messing around with Quickman, where Quickman is trying his hardest to like really keep up with Sonic. So it's a pretty hilarious scene in my opinion from that crossover. So this is exactly what that Reverse Flash thing reminded me of, just not as embarrassing. Then we cut to the next page where basically Amy is flying like her own variation of the Invisible Jet, which could actually be the actual Invisible Jet, because I think Wonder Woman's Invisible Jet has the ability to take on the form of whatever the user wants it to be, because I think Hippolyta did that one time when she was standing in for Wonder Woman. So yeah, they all meet up at the Hall of Justice. They meet up with Beast Boy and stuff, and you know, Beast Boy and Tails are just talking and all that stuff, like, oh, knock it off, Beast Boy, with the whole transforming into Knuckles thing. And then Mr. Terrific has news that he can kind of like that he's found their dimension and stuff, and the whole Chaos Emeralds and stuff. So they all go back to their world to try and figure out what went on with the Justice League and to try and stop Darkseid and all that stuff. So yeah, and that's the end of the story right there. So it's pretty good in my opinion and stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to issue number 4. I believe that will probably be the conclusion of the Sonic and DC crossover. I could be wrong, but yeah. Who knows? Maybe it might be some kind of climactic fight. Maybe Darkseid might have captured the Justice League or something. Who knows what went on? And he probably brainwashed them, and we're gonna probably get like a Justice League versus Sonic and his friends fight or something. Who knows? Or whatever. Or we're gonna just pick back up where we left off. But we'll see when the time comes. But anyways, tell me down below what you guys think of this Sonic and DC crossover. It's going well pretty so far, and all that. I'm pretty much enjoying it. But yeah. Anyways, this is the John Little Fox. I'm out. Peace, and until we meet again.